I know some of you probably don't celebrate Christmas, but I do. So, Merry Christmas. There you are. Today's reading is, of course, related to Christmas by the Rev Dr Michael Gott. And here it is. Oh, eventually. Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Here we go. It's called The Birth of the Christ. The Birth of the Christ. And I got the title wrong, I think, when I wrote it down. I put The Birth of Christ. But anyway, The Birth of the Christ. This is Richard Rohr. He's Catholic Franciscan Augustinian, I think. Anyway, he's based in New Mexico. He's a little bit controversial with the Vatican, I think, because his views are more mystical than, so, mainline Christianity or mainline Catholicism. Kind of like, with the Sufis, the Islamic mystics are not considered Muslims by lots of Muslims, but of course they are. And he is a Christian. He's just a mystical Christian. He says, Christ is a universal notion. Christ is everywhere. Christ is the life principle of everything. If you take it back to its roots, actually, Christ means the Christos. In Greek, it means anointed. And Ernest Holmes says something very similar. He says, be still and know that I am God. And that's a straight quote from the Bible. I am the Christ, the Son of the living God within me. I am the principle of peace within me. And what Ernest Holmes is saying here simply is that Christ is a principle, that Jesus exemplified that principle more than anybody. Anyway, this is Rev Michael Gott. He says, Jesus of Nazareth is nowhere reported as saying, I am the Savior of the world. In the text of his teachings that have survived to this day, mostly what's called the New Testament, the Christian scriptures, he says, I am the light of the world. But in the Sermon on the Mount, which scholars tell us contains the most authentic teachings of this amazing rabbi, and he was a rabbi, he was a teacher, he was Jewish, he practiced Judaism of his day, and he was a teacher. He says, don't you know you are the light of the world? So he's saying two things. I'm the light of the world, you are the light of the world. And going back, Ernest Holmes believed Jesus to be a human who realized the Christ principle, perhaps more greatly than any other person. But the Christ spirit, the embodiment of spiritual principle in creation, is present everywhere, and every individual can recognize and live from it. We're all invited to be a part of the, quote, greater things than these, unquote, that Jesus said those who came after him would do. He says, we don't need to raise the dead or walk on water. Ernest Holmes actually has got a pretty good quote about those things. He says, until we learn to walk on water, we'll take a boat. He was talking about people saying you should rely totally on your belief system and nothing else. These are absolutists. And he said, no, if you're sick and you need to, you take a pill. If you need to see a doctor, you see a doctor. And he says, and then, of course, until you learn to walk on water, take a boat. And that's, of course, reference to Jesus walking on the water. But anyway, he says, we only need to shed our false and limiting beliefs about who and what we are and live the truth of our divine nature. In every exchange with another person, we have the opportunity to be compassionate and generous. Or we can choose not to see the light of God within the person whom we face. Being the light of the world can be as simple as that. Are we willing to examine our patterns of thinking and behavior and release ourselves from the limitations that we have accepted? So, of course, there's a lot of misunderstanding around the fact when people say, I'm God. And in New Thought thinking, what that means is God brought everything into existence, therefore everything is an expression of God. And if everything is an expression of God, I too am an expression of God. Do I always live up to that high ideal? No, but the plain fact is I'm an expression of God because God created everything, right? And it doesn't mean to say, as some people have gone off and thought themselves, well, I'm God, I can do everything. I forget the name, there's a really good movie about that once, about somebody who ended up playing God for a period of time and how difficult it was. But there was one funny scene where he's in a restaurant and he gets this bowl of tomato soup, or tomato soup if you prefer, and the music comes on and it's as if he's at the Red Sea, the red soup, and the music plays and he parts the soup like Moses parting the waves. I thought it was kind of funny anyway. But the whole message here today is that recognize the light of life that you see in other people and give them the honor that they deserve as expressions of one source. And treat yourself the same way that you are an expression of one source, and that within you is the potential for perfection. Are we all living that perfection? No. Have there been people on the planet who've lived it? Maybe there's been a few, but they're very few and far between, like Jesus, the Buddha, maybe in the Dalai Lama. I don't know. But anyway, there you are. So my message to everyone today is, I honor, and this is my prayer, I honor you as an expression of one divine source. I honor you as an expression of life. I honor you as a human being, and I honor you as a spiritual being. And I know that this is truth. And the affirmations, I release all judgment of others. That is a big, big ideal. I release all judgments of others. I'm aiming for that, and that's why it's an affirmation. It's not a statement of truth. I remember that we're all expressions of spiritual perfection and wholeness, which we are at the level of spirit, right? As I know this for myself, it becomes effortless to see spirit radiating from all beings, not just human beings. As I know this for myself, it becomes effortless to see spirit radiating from all beings. And that's it for today, for Christmas Day. Our spiritual center, aka church, if you like, celebrates on Christmas Eve. We don't celebrate on Christmas Day per se. And one of the theories behind that is the fact that if you go back to ancient cultures, Judaism, from which most of our religions spring, Christianity, Islam, and more spring from Judaism, then in Judaism and lots of other cultures and religions, the day actually begins with sundown and goes till sunset the next day. So it goes from sunset to sunset, or if you prefer, sundown to sundown, and it doesn't start at midnight. So actually, technically, in about less than an hour, we will be, in those terms, into another day. We'll be into Friday. So anyway, wish every one of you the greatest. I wish you all the best, and I will see you tomorrow, as will my friend Reverend Lisa Ryan, who will be on Creative Life Spiritual Center's Facebook page at around 9:15 a.m. Central Time, USA, Canada, tomorrow. So until next time.